We got news that potential number 5 overall draftee Will Smith says that he thinks he could really help the Habs and really wants to play with Cole Caufield. We'll be talking a bit about that, plus our boy Arber Xhekaj is finally back skating from injury and he looks better than ever, and he's been training with Owen Power in the offseason. Finally, David Reinbacher, another guy who was originally looked at maybe a number 5 overall pick for Montreal, was asked whether he thinks he'll be drafted in the top 10, and his answer might surprise you, so you won't want to miss what I have to say on this edition of Habs Digest. So we're just going to get right into it. The first piece of news today is Will Smith. Je pense pouvoir aider le CH. I think I can really help the Habs thanks to my vision of the game, my hockey IQ, basically. He said clearly the first guy he would love to play with is Cole Caufield. He says they could probably do some great things together. Now, here's the issue, Will Smith. Will Smith, first of all, is a guy that I'm sure a lot of you guys would love Montreal to pick at number 5 if he's available. There's been a lot of talk saying that he probably won't even be available at number 5, but with more people saying that Columbus might go with someone like Leo Carlsson, and of course the Sharks have always been somewhat linked to Matvei Michkov, it's not out of the realm of possibility. But the problem is he's a center. And it's going to take an awful lot for him to take Nick Suzuki's center role. Could Will Smith potentially learn to play the wing and play with those guys on the top line? Now, I know this is not Will Smith going out there saying, I will only play for Montreal if I play on, next to Cole Caufield, whether it's opposite him on the other wing or down the middle. But at the same time, you see he clearly admires the newly signed Cole Caufield. He would love to get a chance to share the ice with him. And hey, maybe if it's not on a line, maybe it could be on the power play. So regardless, though, when a guy that a lot of Habs fans have a lot of admiration for in Will Smith, a guy that really looks like he'll put it together at the next level because of just simply his combination of everything in his game, right? He has solid size, he has very good hockey sense, he has a great shot, he's a solid playmaker and not a bad defender. Someone that can do all those things is always welcome on any team. So not only did us as Habs fans, we already have him pegged at number 5 if he is available, just simply because of his, again, probably 9,100 point potential, plus being solid all around. The fact that he would love to play in Montreal alongside Cole Caufield really goes a long way. So I really think that Will Smith would be an amazing fit if he could go to Montreal, and whether or not we see him play a lot with Caufield, I guess that's to be determined. Let's talk about topic number 2 today, and it's our boy Arber Xhekaj. Black eye for Xhekaj, as Hockey Junkie would say. Arber Xhekaj's back and he's skating, and I tried to get the video and I couldn't. I'm very sorry, so here's a really crappy screen grab. But this is him. Trust me, there's a full video. You can go find it on Reddit. You can go find it on Twitter. It's everywhere, but he looks great. I mean, he looks like he hasn't missed a step, and I know he's been healing from injury for a while. But Arber Xhekaj, there's a lot of question marks surrounding him going into next season, simply because of Montreal's depth. Now, I've brought this question up on this show a lot. Myself and Jesse have both brought it up, and the fact of the matter is Montreal has a ton of defense, especially on the left side, especially with someone like Lane Hutson ready to come up probably at the end of his college season next year. You already have guys like Jordan Harris, Mike Matheson, Cayden Guhle. Where does Arber Xhekaj fit? Has he earned that NHL spot? Could we maybe see him run third pairing with someone like Jordan Harris? But even then, we have so many guys on the right side. Now we have at least 3 who seem to be solid NHLers for next year, in David Savard, Jonathan Kovacevic, and Justin Barron. So where does Xhekaj fit in? Well, regardless, we know he's putting in the work, not only now coming back from injury, we're seeing him on the ice, but he's also been working out with Owen Power, star defenseman, former first overall pick for the Buffalo Sabres. So that's pretty cool to see, right? And Arber Xhekaj and Owen Power, I see Power actually kind of towers over Xhekaj a little bit there, but I think that's a great guy for Arber Xhekaj to kind of practice with in the offseason, because Owen Power's very solid all around, but especially defensively, and Arber Xhekaj's kind of biggest issue was his defense in particular. I mean, he had, 5 goals this season, a few nice seeing eye shots from the point, had some power play time, but while, yes, he was very physical and he intimidated a lot of players from coming into the Montreal zone, he really didn't do a great job of poking pucks away and really stopping plays in their tracks like a lot of other shutdown defensemen do. And I'm not pegging Arber Xhekaj as a shutdown defenseman, but I truly think that if he really, really wants to have that consistent role for the next few years, I'm not saying he's not there already in the Montreal kind of defensive rotation, but he does have competition, and if he can add a level of shutdown to his defensive game, I think it could really benefit him. So, but regardless, we see him training. We're super happy to see him back on the ice, and Arber Xhekaj is one of, I know Cole Caufield just signed the extension. And I know that Juraj Slafkovsky will be coming back next season fresh off his injury, but Arber Xhekaj is such a fan favorite in his first year with the team. One of the best names in the NHL. Some amazing fights, dropping some veteran fighters like Zach Kassian. So it'll be super, super fun to see him next season. Final quick topic of today, and really interesting here. David Reinbacher, I don't know what the context of this is. I didn't see the clip of him being asked this, but let's just show it. Anthony Martineau, I think he's of TVA, if I'm not mistaken, but he says, I just finished asking David Reinbacher if he thinks that he will be drafted in the top 10. And his response, quite simple, no, I don't think so. And I don't know what kind of play this is from Reinbacher, because most mock drafts, not all, but most have him pegged in somewhere in like the 7 to 10 range, some having him as high as 5, some having him as low as in the 20s. I don't know if those have been updated, but last time I looked, that's about where they were. So David Reinbacher surely seems like almost a lock for a top 10 pick, and for a while, there's lots of videos about people speculating, including on this channel, that the Habs might take him at number 5, as he's maybe the best right-handed defenseman in the draft. And of course, we had that whole video about Craig Button saying that Axel Sandin Pellikka would probably go to Montreal at number 5, and I don't really believe that. But regardless, David Reinbacher is not that high on himself, but that's not the only thing to take away from this quote. When David Reinbacher says, no, I don't think I'll be drafted in the top 10, you have to wonder what's going on behind the scenes in some of these interviews. We've heard so far that Montreal is one of the toughest teams to interview for prior to the draft, simply because they're asking a lot of very interesting, more difficult questions than you might expect, really trying to get into the psyche, the mentality of their prospects. And that's a theme we saw last year when they ended up drafting Slafkovsky number 1 too. We heard that the interview with Shane Wright really didn't go very well, and we saw a lot of footage on the Montreal Canadiens YouTube channel after about Juraj Slafkovsky's answers to these interview questions, and why the Habs staffers, Kent Hughes and all their scouts, of course, included, why they really liked his answers, saying that, his favorite parts of the game is when it's tied and it's late because there's pressure on you. It's all about the character of the player and what they're driven to do. So there are some questions now. Have the Habs interviewed David Reinbacher? Because I really haven't seen much about that. And if they have, maybe did David Reinbacher not get a great feel from the team, or any team that maybe he's spoken to some extent before the draft? It's an interesting thing, because while on paper, yes, he is the best defenseman in the draft, how high do you, how far do you reach if you're one of these teams in the top 5, even top 7, before you take a defenseman, when in any other year, I know this is a deep draft, but David Reinbacher as the best defenseman in the draft, if you're taking a defenseman in the top 5, top 7, you better be sure that this is going to be a really good player, especially with the depth of forwards in this draft, right? We got guys like, I know Ryan Leonard was maybe rumored to be going to Montreal or something, but let's say he doesn't. He slips down to 9 or 10. That's a steal of a pick. Gabe Perreault, probably not going to go in the top 10, and probably would be in almost any other year. So with the depth of forwards, you really need to make sure if you're taking a defenseman that it's going to be a very, very good defenseman. So maybe that's why Reinbacher has said he doesn't think he's going to go in the top 10, or maybe he's just doing a play to mess with the media. I think that's very possible too, because there's a lot of shenanigans that go on around draft time. You can never really be sure, but it was an interesting quote nonetheless. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. I'm recording from my hotel room in Melbourne, Australia, so I'm halfway across the world. This is coming out in a really weird time zone for you guys, I'm sure, but regardless, if you liked the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Like I've said before, these videos are probably going to become a little bit sporadic. This is the first video in, I think, 3.5, 4 days, so thank you if you watched it, and thank you again for the continued support. I'm Josh Gosse. We'll catch you in the next one.